This is London with Bitcoin Spike and VIP Trader. We have some hot action on the open for New York. Let's dig into the details. Remember, guys, not to be traded live. We have an 8 to 10 second delay, etc. Hope you're all doing well. Now, in terms of the specifics, the big news this morning is going to be Tesla. Believe it or not, we can go through some other investments that we talked about, just as some coins, etc., that are moving. Rune did well. We brought that up, guys. Bitcoin is trying to push higher, but we have to talk about, and we get to talk about the specifics for entry, whether or not Tesla, in terms of the technical performance here, that's all we're going to look at, guys. We want to look at the technicals. Let's balance this equation as we would apply it to our Bitcoin trades. This is London with Bitcoin Spike and VIP Trader. We're looking at a very nice, guys, let's look at the specific weekly or look at the daily. Why don't we dig into the daily? Let's really take a look at the daily on Tesla. It's the top story in the markets that we can find in terms of a pattern expression. And you all know that I've been looking for $250 as an entry for this pattern, given the dynamics. That's it, just given the dynamics of the move to the upside, the downward sloping channel. I will encourage you and require you to go to your broker if you want to buy this, hold this, add it to your portfolio, etc. I'm only interested in looking at a bull flag. That's it, guys. I don't care what it's on. This is a beautiful bull flag in the market to assess so that we can take it into our specific trade framework in crypto, etc. We had this performance precedingly. Guys, hot product launch would be the Cybertruck. I believe tomorrow deliveries are starting with a lot of caution from Elon in that preceding earnings call. So I'm interested in the fundamentals to see how this one works out. The bottom line is we're looking at a potential repeat. We will just note that top line resistance has not been broken yet. It has not been broken yet on the daily. So this is in the green zone, right? We are in that go zone, and it's a very exciting pattern. I'll call it with an additional, what is it, guys, 35% potentially to the upside. We'll go ahead and cover that. But just to pay attention to the pattern, you're going to find this in New York Institute of Finance, okay? It's a security, so we don't necessarily particularly handle it. That's why we have the disclaimers everywhere, etc. What we will say, though, is that this might be a great time to call your broker. Call your broker and ask him, say, hey, I think there's some sort of a bull flag on Tesla. What is your read? If I wanted to own this up and over at 250 or over, assuming the bulls can reinforce this, could we expect, I would recommend you have this discussion. Why not, huh? Could we expect, you may ask your broker, bam. And I'm not giving you advice about the financial advice to seek with your financial advisor, I promise. But it might be a good question. You'll agree in terms of whether or not. I've talked to a few about this specific move. Gave them a hard time after I presented it to them. The local head of the local Morgan Stanley office, I gave him this move. Literally, I don't want to mention names. I gave him this move down here. And my friends know, and he knows, etc. It was just a number of weeks thereafter shortly when he had let me know that, wow, this thing just won't stop going up. I said, that's what a bull flag is. So in terms of Morgan Stanley, shout out. Hope you're all doing well. Sorry you missed this, but I did bring it to you. Where did I bring it to you, Morgan Stanley? You guys know this. Good guys over there. Good guys. Glad to know you guys from the different rungs over there and local top shop, top level. In terms of that, yeah, the green zone, the hot zone. Now we get into a different level in terms of the ability to enter if and when we have cleared this top line, okay? So that's gonna be the real go-to function here. We're in this hot zone here. Let's just look at the preceding move. What am I interested in? The acceleration. Bam. And guys, great moves on Rune. I brought that to your attention in terms of Rune. That's not a security, that's just a kind of play around crypto. That did very well, but a 50% move was very nice. What's the problem with being at a higher level? Well, now we're only looking at like a 30% move. So the further up that we go, essentially it gets harder to add on value. I'll remind you in the context of the macro feature here, we're looking at quite a breach of a primary trend line that will be required. Okay, this is the line to beat. We would prefer, in terms of a fundamental analysis, not to have the issues, associated with the potential production problem with the Cybertruck. I mean, if all guns were blazing, we would expect, bam, to not just get up out of this 30% pattern, but potentially to really complete in line with this macro feature. If we want to call this kind of a secondary or a larger macro flag, we could really get up and get out and expect a heck of a run to the upside. So it's a great pattern dynamic to have the micro bull flags building, the macro potential bull flag in play. You see the inverted head and shoulder with the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. There's all types of good things that can happen. What is the number one thing which needs to occur? The number one thing which needs to occur is we need buyers to maintain up and over $250. That's going to be the bottom level, guys. I'm going to say the bottom line on this, and I've drawn it out a bit differently in terms of the specifics for 250. That's guys, going to be time frame dependent, but that would be about a 92% move if guys, big if, but to say if Tesla got all of its guys concerns out of the way and looked at like a 490 price tag. Review Goldman Sachs, review those pros guys in the field that are calling for higher targets now recently. And I just want to today to scope back to have you look at the daily. I want you to look at the daily because we've been talking about 250 being the go-to level. You got it right. I want you to look at the lines on the specific, please look at the lines on the specific daily. Pay attention to the following. And let me clean up the specifics, and this is going to be worth it. In terms of the technical approach, how would you trade a bull flag? This is exactly, guys, exactly what we're looking at this morning, just to really understand the nuances, the particulars of how would a bull flag be traded. Do we have complete confirmation? Where are we on the wicks? Where are we on the lines? At what point are we up and free and clear? It's going to be over this line. Please, if you need to screenshot this just for the technical approach. If and at what point have we technically broken out? Are we there yet? Are we still on standby? It appears as if we are still on standby based upon the daily lines. Level of resistance up and over. You see that clean bull flag top level resistance on the specific wicks. You see on the candles, we want to measure this zone, whether or not traders are on the wicks, whether or not the traders are on the lines, on the daily. The most prominent, guys, I'm going to say the well-respected chart time frame is going to be the daily. So we're getting a very good look here at Tesla on the New York Open. It has our attention for a reason. It's a great opportunity to take a look at a bull flag. One of the most exciting patterns move to the upside. Remember, downward sloping channel, right? Move to the upside. And yeah, remember, downward sloping channel. The channel is always going to cut against the trend, meaning the following on a bull flag. Pay attention. It's a great example for us to bring over into our crypto trades, okay? Looking at, as we get the volatility on the open, the move to the upside, downward sloping channel, okay? We want those moves to the upside, and then yes, that downward sloping channel, meaning that the channel is cutting against the trend. Trend is up, channel cuts down. Bull flag, okay? Flagpole repeats, bam. Trend is up, we have the channel down. So the channel cuts against the trend, which is up. That is the nature and effect and requirement of a bull flag. So while we have sat and said 250 as the mark to beat, I just want to reinforce the following: the fact that on the lines on the daily, on the wicks on the daily, we're still not free and clear, okay? We're still just pinned underneath resistance, and this is gonna be, we had a green zone, kind of a go zone in this level. You guys know that from days past. Take a look at this, and we'll talk about some details. And not that we've been sidetracked, but Bitcoin has been providing plenty of volatility while Tesla was sideways for what, a couple weeks. It seemed like, guys, a couple weeks. I don't like to sit around for a couple weeks. We like things to move. Now, what came into the picture here in terms of a potential entry, right? In terms of a potential entry, it does not go without saying what was the key facet, the key litmus test here wound up being that 4-hourly 20 moving average. Do you see those real nice entries here on that 4-hourly 20 moving average? I'll congratulate you all. You had a nice moment here, a nice level of acceleration, boom, from this level. We caught this low, right? That's a nice accelerated move. This here, bam, was a nice accelerated move once it got going. We try and prevent sitting sideways for a number of weeks. That's one thing that we try to prevent. It's more in line, guys. If you want to manage a portfolio, etc., you guys know where to go for that stuff. It's not going to be right here. So in terms of that, we want fast price action is the bottom line. So that 4-hourly, just notice in the context here of, you say, well, man, I just missed it. Man, it's just gone. Still don't have a technical breakout, okay? So let's calm down, rev down the engine just a bit. We're in the green zone, sure, awesome. But we're still not out, up and over. We still don't have a breakout of the price action. So this is going to be a wonderful test if you traded at lower levels, technically speaking, hypothetically speaking, be a wonderful test to see, well, will Tesla or a type of asset that's behaving like Tesla, i.e. crypto, will it allow you to trade it? Will it allow you to trade it? Is it too aggressive? Is it going to accommodate your participation in what is a clear-cut, top of show pattern in the market? Is the market going to allow us to even trade this type of market, hypothetically, in equities, necessarily in crypto? Let's dig back over into crypto as we'll watch this, and we'll keep an eye on this. And the big letter, guys, the big letter line item today is going to be the 20 moving average on the 4-hourly. We're going to pay attention to that, right? So as we look at different dynamics all over the map, guys, you're going to find different dynamics throughout equities. We love the volatility up front. You guys know that. What we're going to say is, okay, so on a major pattern interplay like we just see this morning ongoing with Tesla, what is our takeaway? Okay, first of all, don't jump the gun necessarily. Do lower orders govern? They do, but there's a time value of money. If we were to look at this, there's an actual time value of money. If we're expected to sit in something, right? And who taught us this, guys, or what taught us this? That would be Bitcoin, right? There's kind of a time value of money as we would look at, well, we're down, great acquisition zone for Bitcoin, but yeah, we got down here. We stayed here for, guys, about a year. We started going up right about in this zone, really making some headway back into some normalized pricing. But this time value of money, that's a real value that you place on. And differently, I'm going to say your ability to trade in the market. As you look at going sideways, not too attractive. We need these highly accelerated moves, and nothing really outdoes Bitcoin on these moves. You do have to catch it. And I'll just ask you the same question, guys, in terms of will it allow you, will it accommodate your ability to trade? That's the bottom line. Can we trade it? We want the volatility. We want to focus on the patterns within the volatility that will allow us to trade. And we ultimately have to decide, are we going to be able to trade asset X, Y, or Z? What an incredible looking chart right here. We are just over, guys, this level of resistance on a preceding dynamic of a rising wedge that failed on Bitcoin. Very interesting to look at that. I know we could practically stream Tesla for the next number of days. We'll not do that, okay? But we could, nearly. I know that. As you're looking at the challenge of terms of verifying that breakout on the daily, it seems as if it is just impending. It just does. I'll encourage you to mind the technicals and let Tesla or any asset that you're trading, my recommendation is going to be that you allow it to tell you whether or not it's going to allow you to trade it, is the bottom line. Did you miss out on something with an asset that is not going to let you trade it? If it's not going to let you trade it, or it's going to lock you in, let's say, a liquidity trap in terms of, well, I have to keep my money tied up in from a lower order while I don't really get the type of activity, let's say, that I have had on Bitcoin in the last number of days. Bam, look at this volatility. Then I want you just to assess whatever you're investing in, not just, guys, in terms of cryptos, I'll say that, but looking at the characteristic of the asset crypto that you're focused on. Can you trade it? Is it allowing you to negotiate the amount of margin that you want to hammer into Bitcoin with those risk measures in place, right? With the, let's just say, probabilities that are in play. And I bring up the probabilities because we had a great pattern here again that I want to reinforce. What do we look for? We look for volatility. We look for volatility, and what do we find? We find volatility, right? So our number one rule here is we want volatility. That's it. In whatever we trade, we want volatility. Then we want the characteristic set of the asset and the technicals involved to where that volatility is something that we're able to be a part of on a constructive level. We agree? Yes. So when someone stops by VIP and they see this and they just want to take off and it doesn't make any sense to them and it's useless, we know better, don't we? We certainly know better. When about the time do we know better? Definitely down here. True? Without a doubt, right? When do we really know better sometimes? We really know better that this is something worth focusing on if we can get like down and out of this level of support and ricochet, somehow slingshot back to the level of resistance and up and over potentially. Hey, we'll take all the volatility we can get. So in terms of the details, let's recap on, let's go ahead and recap. I'm going to bring another, let me bring another chart down for you guys. Let's take a look at cross time frame for Bitcoin on some flat tops that I have lined out. It looks like on the 4 hourly on Bitcoin, we do have a nice flat top, and you'll just see the way the flat tops have been beaten by the bulls. Boom, 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 just walking up the stairs. In terms of that, it's been a nice trajectory. What's our key focal? 37,500. I'm going to continue to focus on 37,500 until we leave it behind. Deal? Are we going to leave it behind? What do you guys think? Given the volatility of Bitcoin, are we going to leave 37,500 behind at some point? I'm going to argue that we will. And in terms of when we do, I'm going to suggest that it has a chance of maybe not immediately being as valuable as this specific move from that 200 that we took up, guys, a 40% run, right? That 200, I spent 2 months telling you, 2 months telling you, when we cut this loose, we need, okay, a position, a carry position up and over. All right, you guys know that. We spent 2 months on this. All right, very, very ingrained and heavily in the weeks and days preceding, bam, this move. This was a nice accelerated move. Bitcoin will allow you to participate. She's allowed us to participate in terms of the volatility. It's there. It's been consistent. The guys from the cyclical activity and just the consistency, the dynamics involved, it's something that it is a thumbs up all the way around in terms of what we want to focus on. It just is. So in addition, I'll just add to that, the markets don't close. You've got a lot of positive upsides as you look at trading Bitcoin. That's why we're focused on it. You guys know. We'll look at the equities. We'll look and see what we could bring in terms of technical dynamics, even differentiation, distinguishing why we focus on Bitcoin. It's nice, right? And we need that action. We need that action because sometimes Bitcoin can slow down, right? Definitely on the weekends, etc. We thrive on that. Guys, we're on the hunt for that, just increase price action and pattern interplay. So taking a look at flat top again, what is the solution here? If we were to look at the key differentiator, it's going to be this. It's going to be, what do we look for? We look for expanding volatility. We want to be a part of it, right? We just certainly do. This is on the 15-minute. We called this out with multiple differentiations of the expanding volatility before the move to the upside, but you see why we focus on it. Continue to focus on it. Continue to find your expanding volatility, your opportunities to move to the upside. We have a few flat tops. That's why I brought that why I brought that chart into play in terms of just your recognition of additional levels to beat to the upside, which have been a touch catchy, but which you can clearly see here on the 4 hourly. That flat top is just nearly this really well designated. That means that we do have targets to the downside, potentially for pickup, without a doubt. As we would look at this, guys, the ability of just, it's been consistent. And how long have we been sideways marching up these rungs of the ladder? Guys, it's been over a month now. So for over a month, Bitcoin has been consistently driving to the upside. That's nice. That's a lot of volatility. We measured this yesterday, about 8% up and down. Very, very nicely done. I know everybody wants to see a little bit of Tesla in terms of where she is at and what she is planning on doing today. I know 250 up and over has been my call for the last number of weeks. I'm just going to re-encourage you to take a look on that specific daily and really gauge as to the entry level here. Talk about an ice cold short. You got to be kidding me. Tough short at resistance. We agree? Everybody would agree, just given the dynamics. But take a look at that pattern. You'll see here the majority of the time frames, if not nearly all the time frames, guys, except for like that 15-minute, are just lit up blue, meaning they are positively geared right now. We did flip on this daily in terms of the specific power band. I'm going to be bringing that into some guys, some additional dev work here soon. But you'll just see when that power band goes blue on the daily, if we get that run, that's what we want to achieve. So that's going to be, guys, something to watch. Remember that 4 hourly was constructive, right, in terms of that move to the upside. And tomorrow is without a doubt that specific launch per Musk in terms of and what are we going to say, guys? What are we going to say from the conference call to him having quote unquote dug his own grave to a launch event for the Cybertruck? Seems like he is just destined for trouble with some security regulators. I gotta tell you, gotta call it like it is, huh? It seems like he's kind of destined for some trouble with some security regulators. You know, it's interesting to jump on a conference call like that. And we, heard the tape of quote unquote digging his own grave. They dug their own grave with the Cybertruck, talking about all the difficulties and everything else. And then, just turning around, some appreciation and excitement about the cyber launch. I'm not sure, maybe he's in a catch-22, possible, but that would raise some eyebrows at, I would imagine, some security regulators who are looking at potential, any kind of backdoor potential for can you imagine any type of backdoor? You don't ever want to say that, but any type of a reason to have additional volatility to the downside or upside, and who's profiting off of that? Because that's not a statement, something to take lightly. We dug our own grave with the Cybertruck. Come on, guys. Yeah, that's a little bit more than let's raise an eyebrow at that and let's see, is there anything going on in the background? That's just, it reflects, I have to say, guys, as we look at what we would focus on, it does reflect on the characteristic of the asset, okay, in terms of the volatility, why it's there, and whether or not it's something that we want to distinguish away from, let's say, Bitcoin, which is our primary focus, and whether or not this is something we'd really want to hammer into. You'll make the decision as you look at the fundamentals of Bitcoin, whether or not there is a synchronicity between the fundamentals and what you can accept is a long-term value proposition and a short-term, some coalescence there in terms of short-term events and how those fundamentals are affecting price and volatility, and what your threshold is in terms of what you decide to engage your time with as a trader, okay, in terms of producing a profit. I'll just argue that that same dynamic and evaluation needs to occur for us as we look at Tesla. For a boss that gets up there and says, we dug our own grave, it's miserable, causes a fallout, and then all of a sudden, the light is shining on a Cybertruck again. So those are inconsistencies that I pay attention to as I evaluate, is something worth our time or not? We can find volatility anywhere, even for purposes of bringing over the technical dynamics, let's say in the instance of Tesla, over into Bitcoin. What we can say is the technical dynamics are oddly, nearly perfectly expressed on Tesla. So it's difficult for us to completely ignore because it's a page out of the New York Institute of Finance book. So as we're looking for perfect examples in a quote unquote liquid asset, it's difficult for us to say, well, we have to completely ignore Tesla when it's literally a perfect page out of a book. You guys see that? So to the extent that there is some additional complications in terms of how we may rate or gauge our willingness to be involved, given some of those complications, they're not external complications, they're kind of fundamental complications. And I hope you go through that level of analysis as you look at your participation in Bitcoin, as you look at your participation in these quote unquote altcoins, etc. I hope that you're doing that work, which is just reflective of, let's say, a level of maturity in the market, and something that we want to reinforce right? For you to be able to enjoy the markets. You're trading in the markets, particularly crypto, guys, and enjoy the markets and enjoy your profits from the markets. It's probably enough said on that issue, but you understand the distinctions therein. Hopefully, the distinctions therein. That would be the best that I could offer you if there were some distinctions therein. Now, in terms of the specifics, in terms of a breakout up and over for Rune, it was a great day for Rune. We got to say. And this comes, guys, at a 15% since breakout. That's nice, 5% up today. We'll focus on Rune, and I'll shout out to old Skippy. What's up, Skip? My big guy. What's going on, brother? Hope everything is well in where you are at. And I will just call that out. Skippy is a big time wealth management, I'll say field level professional with some big cats around him. Big cats around him in terms of big fish, big this and that, guys. You talk about a whale. Okay, well, these would be some of the bigger, just institutional names that you're familiar with. So Skippy had originally brought this to me as a speculative play. Rune. It was before it dropped 95%, but he's just an A-list kind of guy. He's an A-list kind of guy, extremely conservative. And so I give him the credit for bringing this, credit for bringing this to our attention. Maybe he wanted to see how good of traders we would be if and when it went down 90%, right? But it does have the volatility, Rune. So we do pay attention to it. I shout out to Skippy. If you guys knew who it was, you'd be like, okay, interesting. So, and we don't just throw around names of things to invest in. But yes, Rune has had that specific volatility profile with some reasonable adherence to technical frameworks. You'll just see that nice pennant move to the upside, the specific symmetrical triangulation, that the bull pennant, and we would be looking ideally for what? Now, we would be looking ideally for, and you have a variable level of completion to the upside, it could get really thrust strongly up and above this level through some additional dynamics, but looking at a 30% additional move, and we're just right at about this preceding lateral, which is a natural level of frustration, natural barriers in place. You've got traders who are looking left and deciding to take. Ideally, what's the way around that? You say, well, London, I never know when to take. I just don't know. I never know when to take. I always get it wrong. Well, if you always get it wrong, I'm going to tell you the number one solution to your problem. And if you don't like it, I'm going to tell you again, once you come to me with a problem again, it's going to be you have an entry from this specific level. True? Yes. You're planning for breakout. You got it. What's my solution? Well, I'm going to ask you to enter trade number 1, and I'm also going to ask you to enter trade number 2. And I want you to get trade number 1 or number 2, and if when you hit a level, you're like, I always, whenever your always is that you always take too early, go ahead and cross out your trade number 2, period. Then what do you still have? You still have the ability to go run like the wind with your trade number 1 all the way up to wherever in the world it could possibly go to never regret this situation where you quote unquote always take too early. Give yourselves a backup plan. The market is famous for, guys, making people incorrect. You know that. When you get into a binary situation, it's an all in, all out no. Change that framework. Give yourselves 2 bites at this apple, a clean take, and you say, well, okay, well, what does that mean? You're going to have profit expectations. Look at your profit expectations. Measure out what you want to get here. Measure out what kind of profit you want at the lateral take, that you're satisfied with, that you've already decided you're satisfied with, right? That you've already determined and satisfied your profit equation at this level. Then you let your specific additional coast up and ride, and you're comfortable with that additional returning to what? Returning to 0. No problem. You got your profit equation done at this level, and now this is just icing on the cake. Force yourself to do something of the sort, if not exactly that. I encourage you, highly encourage you to take that type of a rationale. So we have the flat tops on Bitcoin. We've got just some nice action up and out on Tesla. Let's take a look again at the daily and see where she's at. Again, we're going to need, and it's going to be a specific, guys, it's going to be a level hit up, out, and over, Let's just look at this. And she's going to tell us if she wants us to really participate with a clean breakout trade. Yesterday was a clean breakout trade on Rune, wasn't it? So we're getting the chance to say, wait, that's a peripheral altcoin. Are we going to get the same level of accommodation on Tesla? If not, what does that mean? Well, if not, that means it seems like Rune was a better trade for us, right? Now, liquidity concerns aside, but given that dynamic, it would be, well, it seems like the technicals are more accommodating looking at that specific, let's say the price action of Rune yesterday. We wouldn't just necessarily say that Rune's a better thing to trade than Tesla, unless Tesla just won't let us trade a breakout. If Tesla somehow just gets in the mood here and just refuses to allow us to have a clean breakout trade, and it's just catchy all day long and costs money on stop loss, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then yeah, we would say, well, Tesla, let Elon take Tesla out to the races, out to the horse track. We don't need to go to the horse track every day when we open up a new trade, right? So in terms of the cup and handle, this feature will be in play with the hurdles to the left. In addition to this breakout, it just seems like breakout is imminent. The question right now is really, as we look at these patterns, they're very instrumental to bring over to our crypto trades. These cup and handles have been phenomenal, right? Mark out the 259. 259 is going to be what, the 23.6 based on a breakout. So that should be a natural level of interaction. The question will be, are we going to have some sort of a rehit back after resistance to the extent that it were, guys, that it were conquered by the bulls? Can we get a flip on it? Do we want one? Right, we're going to be assessing here what type of a technical asset or technical opportunity would be involved in trading something like this. It's a dynamic pattern. Okay, it's a dynamic pattern. We've been talking about it for weeks to the extent that you're looking at how accommodating. It's really one thing to say it's an incredible pattern. It could be even more dangerous, and we'll pay attention to this big time, guys. Let's pay attention. Listen up. We're going to pay attention to whether or not this is a dangerous type of pattern to trade, and if it is, to the extent that it is dangerous, meaning it could cost a lot of money given the behavior in this zone, we want to pay attention. We want to regard that. We probably want to stop using it as an example for crypto trades, unless, given the volatility, guys, right out of the starting gate, we just have that volatility on the New York Open, so we're going to pay attention to equities in terms of the technical dynamics and that framework of volatility. But what I'll say is, and to the extent that there's just an added risk component, or it seems like some unfair component where we can't get a clean break, and we got one, let's say, on just a peripheral altcoin. Yesterday, our Bitcoin has been very solid. We'll further distinguish why we focus on Bitcoin, why we focus on crypto. So to the extent that that can happen, let's go. That's great. To the extent that it's a perfect pattern, and it does have some additional trappings of risk measurement built in, or risk dynamics built in, just understand that that can be dangerous. So it's good in and of itself for us to discuss that up front. It's like, wow, it is such an attractive bait in the water. Every fish is going to be on this, right? It's a nice, attractive nuisance in the market. So to the extent that this preceding flag was not an attractive nuisance, but really provided a nice trade-off, boom, to the upside, we're going to pay attention to that as well. And we'll put this one in context and just looking for a technical breakout is the bottom line. We still have not technically broken out, let's say, of the flag, though we do have a technical breakout of the specific cup and handle, right? So as we were to, let's assess this real quickly. Let's look at the dynamics in and along, and this is where we would start to dig into the micro. You guys know when we start digging in the micro, I know what. It's time to get on with my morning routine. Go hit the iron before I run out of any kind of steam here. So that's going to be what I'm going to be doing. We'll keep an eye out. In fact, I'll put an alert reminder. So I'm going to get a phone call. Even to the extent that we are up and out, I'm just going to get a phone call. While I go to the gym, it's going to call me and say, we're going to say, Tesla breakout. Okay, I'm going to put Tesla breakout, and we'll call Hook Pro. That's just going to call me. You guys do your web hooks and make sure that you get an alert immediately when you've got a Tesla breakout. Bam, just like that. Nice stuff, okay? In terms of getting a phone call, that's what I'm going to do this morning. I'm going to tighten it up just a little bit and make sure that we're not too far out, and that way we can definitely cover it in the back. Nice to see the pattern and framework. Let's see if Tesla wants people to trade. We can only imagine, guys, some big fish are in the pond for this potential move. 30% move, sure. with some additionals. Let's just measure this real quickly as we're looking at that microcosm here of the cupature and handle on the micro. Let's go ahead and look at this cupature and handle. Let's measure this out very quickly just to see where we would be at. Let's look at the micro to the macro feature in terms of a potential for 84.90 upside target. Always look at those micros, the macros. Apply these to crypto trades, guys. Nice to see the framework on New York Open looking at a near 100% move. If we can complete this larger cupature and handle to a 100% target, that's pretty stout. That's pretty stout. The number one question I'm going to have is how long would it take you to get there? That's it. How long will it take you to get there? What's the time value? Your time, guys. How are you going to value your time in the market? You know, do I like 490 as a price target? It's great if we can get there in a short period of time. Although I'll tell you, if for whatever reason in the world, a crypto or anything else wants to hit 490 and it wants to hit it like this, you know, I'm going to really, you say, well, but you know, we had a really nice ascending triangle that ultimately got us there. I see, right. So the point is this, if we're going to spend an additional, look at this, guys, if we're going to spend an additional, look at your time value of money. It's great to have an upside target, but what's moving today? What's moving right now? Where is my velocity? If I'm looking at spending this long that we got down and up until this point, which is going to be, guys, say it's, you know, 2-3 years. I don't want to hit $490 in two or 2.5 years. I just don't. It becomes unattractive to me. That's fine. It's a 100% trade. Great. I don't want to hit it unless we're going there now. And if we're going there right now, I want to operate in line with some acceleration. Bam, bam. This move here has become a bit lackluster sideways. So if Tesla wants to make a screaming challenge to the upside and set some records, we were all over it, weren't we? Yeah, we called it. We watched it on the news. We had fun. We told people about it beforehand. You get to the point you want to start setting some records, Tesla, or anything, we'll pay attention. We'll be there. We want that momentum, that velocity. Otherwise, what are we focused on? Yeah, otherwise, we're going to be right at home with Bitcoin. And guys, we're still going to be right at home with Bitcoin, but that's going to be the qualifier for us as we look at what we're going to be involved in. We want some screaming price action. Bring on the rocket fuel. We want to jet up and down. We need, guys, we need that velocity. We just really need that velocity in our trading. Get that money moving. Get those accounts, guys, turning green to the upside and to the downside. As we would look at the dynamics, I'm going to encourage you once again, find your volatility play. It's going to be the name of the game today. Find your next volatility play. How did this trade for you? Did it trade well? Did you do well? I hope so. We had a nice re-hit on one of the levels here in terms of a throwback earlier this morning, and we caught a nice micro bull flag. So Bitcoin's had plenty of volatility as you're looking, guys, at the screen here. Just require a clean breakout. Let's see if Tesla is going to show up and set some records again, or if she's just going to show up, guys, in some bad fashion to where we may even pull back a little bit from focusing on her. That's just the bottom line. We may pull back a little bit from focusing on those perfect patterns, which are kind of imperfect to trade. We'll see how the next few weeks, next few hours, guys, and days work out. This is London with Bitcoin Spike and VIP Trader. Pleasure to talk to you this morning. We will be around. Congrats to anybody who caught the move on Rune. Remember those double entries. Go ahead and satisfy your profit equation. Satisfy it. We have another 30% in Rune. Probably at some point. What would you guys say? Probably at some point, probably. But what's the question? Just like on Tesla, you want to hit 490? Not in like 2 or 3 years, man. I want to hit it today, right? So same question. What's your time value of money? How are you looking at your moves? I encourage you to focus on momentum and velocity and see how that's going to change or define your trade participation and your trade experience. Remember, I want you to enjoy the market, enjoy your profits in the market. It's why we're here. It's why we do what we do. This is London with Bitcoin Spike and VIP Trader.